Coming up on Global Business, strengthening ties. Chinese President Xi Jinping urges China and Kyrgyzstan to forge a new chapter of high-quality development in bilateral relations in a signed article ahead of his state visit to Central Asian nations. An APEC milestone, APEC China 2026 senior officials meeting concludes in Dalian, with members reaffirming innovation and collaboration. And Rate Watch, global policy watchers gather at the Jackson Hole Symposium in the U.S. and looking for signals from the U.S. Fed chair for signs of the interest rates. Hello and welcome to this edition of Global Business. I'm Lililu in Beijing. Top story of the day, Chinese President Xi Jinping has called on China and Kyrgyzstan to join hands in creating a new chapter of high-quality development in bilateral relations. He made those remarks in a signed article published in Kyrgyz media outlets ahead of his state visit to the Central Asian country.
In the article, President Xi said he looks forward to working with President Japarov to map out a new blueprint for China-Kyrgyzstan relations and make new progress in building an SCO community with a shared future. President Xi described the two countries as good neighbors, partners, and friends, saying that ties have stood the test of changing global landscapes. He highlighted the significant growth of bilateral ties, from good neighborly relations to a comprehensive strategic partnership for the new era, gaining fresh dynamism with each stage of development. In the article, President Xi highlighted 4 points on further developing China-Kyrgyzstan ties. First, the two sides have consistently backed each other in safeguarding sovereignty, independence, and territorial integrity, and in adopting policies and measures for national development, setting an example of good neighborliness for neighboring countries. Second, the two countries have delivered real benefits to their people. Construction on the Kyrgyz section of the China-Kyrgyzstan-Uzbekistan Railway is advancing in full swing, with the Bedel checkpoint temporarily opened ahead of full operations. Direct flights between the two countries have also grown. Third, Xi highlighted the importance of communication as the two sides continue to maintain vibrant exchanges and mutual learning. Two-way visits exceeded 400,000 in 2025, and 30 pairs of sister provinces and cities enjoy close ties. Fourth, both countries have jointly navigated risks and challenges. As founding members of the SCO, as well as Global South countries, President Xi said China and Kyrgyzstan share similar positions on upholding international fairness and justice and promoting open, inclusive development. Xi urged China and Kyrgyzstan to consolidate good neighborly friendship, stay committed to mutual benefit and win-win cooperation, carry forward their traditional friendship, and uphold multilateralism. He called on China and Kyrgyzstan to elevate practical cooperation, including in green mining, the digital economy, clean energy, and artificial intelligence. The Chinese president also called for stepping up exchanges in culture, tourism, art, media, think tanks, youth, archaeology, and health. As Kyrgyzstan has been elected as a non-permanent member of the United Nations Security Council, Xi called on both sides to firmly uphold the UN-centered international system and the international order based on international law, firmly oppose hegemonism, unilateralism, and bloc confrontation, jointly combat terrorism, separatism, and extremism, and bring into play a more just and equitable global governance system.
China and Kyrgyzstan are deepening economic ties ahead of President Xi's upcoming state visit to the country. China's Ministry of Commerce reports that China has remained Kyrgyzstan's largest trading partner, with bilateral trade reaching $11.7 billion in the first 7 months of this year, with exports of electric vehicles, batteries, and other new 3 products, as well as machinery and electronics, growing rapidly. China is also Kyrgyzstan's largest source of foreign investment, with Chinese investment exceeding $2 billion. And cross-border port upgrades are high on the agenda of the upcoming Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit. At China's westernmost gateway in Urkistan, in the country's road link to Kyrgyzstan and the shortest route to Central Asia, clearance efficiency is improving, especially for electric vehicles. Shang Jinglong has more.
A rapid journey from factory floor to the streets of Central Asia. This is the everyday scene at Irkutsk Dam, the land port that links China to Kyrgyzstan. In what's becoming a routine of efficiency, electric vehicles are cleared for export at a record pace. The model is simple. View a car today, and it rolls out of the country tomorrow.
The customs has adopted a road port plus direct clearance model, combining early declaration and centralized inspection, powered by smart technologies like automated data extraction, plate recognition, and gate verification. This has boosted export cargo efficiency by up to 80%.
The numbers speak for themselves. In the first half of 2026, Irkutsk Dam processed nearly 10,000 new energy vehicles, a modest number compared to the mega hub of Horgos. The size isn't the whole story. The port is not the biggest, but it's the closest. In trade, proximity is power. And turning that power into speed takes constant refinement of process on the ground.
We run 24/7 freight clearance, streamline inspections, and offer multiple facilitation measures. We focus on business needs, improve emergency response, and boost port efficiency to support local development.
And it's not just about the paperwork. On the ground, an army of drivers has become the crucial link between the two nations. Known as ferrymen, these drivers personally transport the cars across the border. This human touch ensures flexibility in a high-volume trade.
I've been driving the China-Kyrgyzstan route for years. Clearance is faster now, inspections are simpler, more trips, more earnings.
A few meters behind me lies the border that connects China and Kyrgyzstan, and beyond it, the vast market of Central Asia. Right now, this crossing has become a key corridor for westbound trade, with Chinese EVs among the fast-growing cargo categories. Clear customs in one day and reach Bishkek in one day at best. And this is the new speed of trade here, and the speed is accelerating. Irkutsk Dam is just one piece of a much larger picture. Across Xinjiang, a network of border ports is becoming a superhighway for Chinese new energy vehicles. The gateways are transforming Xinjiang from China's western frontier into Central Asia's front door for green mobility. The Asian Silk Road carried silk and spices. Today, it carries silence, speed, and sustainable power. And this is only the beginning. 张家龙 CGTN Irkutsk Dam, Xinjiang.
And the APEC China 2026 third senior officials meeting and related sessions have concluded in the city of Dalian, marking a pivotal milestone in this year's APEC China year. Amid rising global trade tensions and persistent supply chain strains, APEC members reaffirmed that innovation and collaboration are essential to sustaining regional economic growth. Our reporter Aaron Liu has more.
With global economic uncertainty lingering and supply chain disruptions ongoing, the region is calling for more certainty, better connectivity, and mutually beneficial partnerships. Consider this: the APEC region accounts for nearly 60% of global GDP. When its supply chains falter, the world feels the tremors. Today, member economies shared urgent priorities: industrial modernization, green transition, and digital innovation. That makes deeper collaboration and cross-border investment more critical than ever.
In terms of the Committee on Trade and Investment, our challenge as a country is more on the latest developments in the digital age, especially AI, and now it will integrate into the trade process. In the space of cooperation and also APEC as an incubator, we might need assistance, especially to cooperate on cooperation to see the legal environment, how the Chinese government have come up with policies and legislation to govern and to the usage of AI in some of these their processes.
Singapore is pushing ahead with smarter, digitized regional trade frameworks.
We are very much interested in supporting a transparent and open trade area in this regard. For Singapore, we are very much working towards on trade digitization. I think between China and Singapore, what underlines the special bilateral relationship is a close G2G cooperation.
A key takeaway from this year's meetings, China's comprehensive industrial ecosystem and high-quality development model offer practical blueprints for regional collaboration. The meetings delivered tangible results, including 6 new bilateral customs agreements with APEC members, introducing smart customs solutions and mutual currency recognition to reduce trade barriers and streamline cross-border flows.
We're building an Asia-Pacific community with one goal in mind: shared prosperity. That means focusing on 4 key pillars: trade, connectivity, innovation, and development. It takes practical, on-the-ground effort from every economy. Between now and the Shenzhen leaders meeting this November, we'll keep building consensus and momentum, pushing toward agreements at the highest level.
In a world of economic headwinds, no economy can thrive in isolation. China's 2026 APEC chairmanship has brought much-needed stability and reassurance to the region.
As the APEC China year enters its final stretch, stakeholders are eager for more win-win outcomes. See you in Shenzhen. I'm Liu, CGTN, Dalian.
Time now to get a check on some other business headlines from across China. The 2026 China International Fair for Trading Services, or CIFTIS, will debut a China Services Exhibition Zone in its core area when it opens on the 9th of September at Beijing's Shougang Park, officials announced on Friday. Some 90 countries and international organizations will host exhibitions with more than 1,800 enterprises participating. China has also released a new plan with 17 major goals to develop its logistics network by 2030, targeting total social logistics costs at 13.1% of GDP, that is down 0.8 percentage points from the end of 2025. The NDRC will speed up the release of policy-based financial funds to back private investment projects. It also seeks to strengthen financing for infrastructure networks and projects of strategic importance. China has unveiled new rules to reform its commercial housing sales system. Under the new rules, jointly issued by 3 ministries, pre-sale projects must reach structural completion before hitting the market. Pre-sale funds now face tighter oversight, with all buyer payments placed into regulated supervisory accounts to guard against delivery risks. The policy also urges local authorities to advance completed home sales, delivering what you see as what you get to reduce disputes. Local governments are also required to improve supporting policies on land supply and financing, ensuring a smoother transition to the new system. And now for more insights on China's latest housing sales system reforms, we're now joined by Mr. Liu Zhiqing, Senior Fellow at Chongyang Institute for Financial Studies at Renmin University of China. Mr. Liu, does this system stop those unfinished projects at the source, sustain cash flow along construction value chains, and also help to build reliable transaction security expectations for home buyers?
I think this document has sent a very positive signal to the market, to the real estate market in China, because as we know, in the past years, we have faced 2 big challenges. That is the pre-sale system and also pre-payment. These 2 systems has caused many chaos and problems for the developers, for the market, for the buyers, but also for the bankers. So that's why these new measures, new policies has already tried best to eliminate all these problems. First, to take a reform of the pre-sales system, and secondly, also to have a new monitoring system for refinancing of the housing buyer or housing developers. Because as we know, in the past years, that the pre-sales makes more prepayment. The prepayment from the buyers, they got the loans from the bankers. If the unfinished project make the market in chaos, the buyers will not pay the rest of this money. That made all this financing for the banks became very big challenge that we called NPL, NPL means the non-performing loans. That makes many bankers a headache. That's why so many banks have come to a so-called corrupt or in crisis in the financing, in the funding from the People's Bank. So that's why this is a true fundamental reform and the measures to guidance of this new housing-related project for the sales system and also for the new funding frame. It's very important to take into action.
Well, Mr. Liu, this is closely followed by global watchers as well. So do you think that the new policy would give developers reasonable funding access while lowering credit risks for both Chinese and international financial institutions?
I think in my personal opinion that this policy has two possibilities. One is positive, the other is negative. The positive is one that more bankers, more financing sections will be more cautious to provide funds for developers, because it's already stimulated as a policy that one project only with one special bank in charge of this funding. Normally, we know that the project for new houses, they are at a large amount of funding. Normally, not one single bank can afford such a burden or such a task. So that's why they have already syndication loan. That syndication means that one bank as in charge, and he invited the other banks to join together to take or diversifying the risks could be happen possibly. Nowadays, if they only have one bank in charge, I believe the negative side is that no bank like to take it, the risk, because nobody will see what could be happening for the future, especially for the developers. And the second is for the market itself. Nobody assure this market can really available to buy the new houses at the moment. Because at the moment, the major policy is focusing for the stock or inventory housing. The inventory housing has already over 5, 6, even 7 years old. So there's they have demand, but no buyers. This is a big challenge for any bank. So that's why I think the international investors and housing companies are still waiting. We'll see any other new policies could come into force, because I think we have to identify one thing, that what the meaning of the unfinished project or finished project. Finished project doesn't mean the finished housing. So the standard is not clear. So I think we still have time to see what new measures and policies could come into reality.
Well, thank you so much for your insights, Mr. Liu Zhiqing from Chongyang Institute for Financial Studies. And still to come here on Global Business. Great watch. Global policymakers gather at the Jackson Hole Symposium in the U.S. state of Wyoming as markets await for Fed Chair Kevin Warsh for signs on the future path of U.S. interest rates.
The world economy as we know it is about to change. Global business reports highlight emerging markets, developing countries, and dynamic sectors worldwide. We feature top analysts and newsmakers to provide perspectives on every facet of business. From an on-the-ground perspective, we provide you with balanced and objective assessments. Fast, sharp, and insightful. Global Business. Only on CGTN.
Welcome back. The world's leading economic policymakers are gathering in the U.S. state of Wyoming for the annual Jackson Hole Economic Symposium. It is a chance for new U.S. Federal Reserve Chairman Kevin Warsh to lay out his economic vision of the future and address, and among other things, the always tricky question of interest rates. Hendrik Sybrandy has a preview from Denver.
The theme of this year's three-day conference is financial innovation, the way technology is rewriting the rules of money and global banking. But all eyes will be on new U.S. Fed Chairman Kevin Warsh on Friday and what he says about the state of the U.S. economy, inflation, and the prospect of interest rate increases in the near future. In many ways, the U.S. economy continues to hum along. GDP growth continues, though at a slowed pace. Unemployment rates are relatively low. The stock market continues to be fueled by AI investment. But there are storm clouds gathering. The inflation rate for July was 3.4%. It's been above the central bank's target of 2% for 5 years now. Long-term U.S. borrowing costs have surged to nearly two-decade highs. That's prompted the U.S. Treasury Secretary to try to bring bond yields back down, with not a lot of success so far. The challenge for Chairman Warsh is to lay out his view of the current economic risks and his view of the Fed's role in markets. Just last month, the Federal Reserve left its key interest rate unchanged, despite inflation and the higher energy prices caused by the Iran war.
Not one of my FOMC colleagues is under any illusion. We have begun a new chapter, and we understand that the 5+ years of inflation above target cannot be cured in 9 weeks or by a single month of modest price decreases. This Fed will not waver. Our credibility rests on performing our duties and delivering on our responsibilities. Americans are right to expect that because our nation's prosperity depends on it.
Warsh is known to prefer to focus on the big economic picture. He's convened 5 task forces to look into a range of issues, including the optimal size of the Fed's balance sheet. But economists and investors prefer that he focus on the here and now. Will the Fed be aggressive in addressing affordability and bringing down inflation by raising interest rates? He hasn't been very clear on those points in the first few months on the job. We may know more about his thinking on Friday. Hendrik Sabrandi, CGTN, Denver.
And let's get a check on other business headlines from around the world. France has reported zero economic growth in the April to June period as surging energy prices weighed on activities in factories and pushed the second quarter inflation to 2.4%. And Spain faced similar headwinds from U.S.-Iran war-induced energy hikes, with inflation sharply rising to 4.3% in August. And analysts say that the figure could prompt policymakers to raise interest rates sooner than previously planned. And Kwak No-jun, who's the CEO of the Republic of Korea's chip giant SK Hynix, has warned that memory supply shortages will persist for another 4 years, lasting until 2030, as demand for artificial intelligence products has yet to peak. The continuing trade conflict between the U.S. and Canada has left the businesses on both sides deeply concerned. Here's more from Dan Williams in Canada.
A welder works on a piece of steel. This is Yarn Engineering, a tool and die company based just outside of Windsor, Canada. These parts will eventually form a specialized tool that will manufacture products.
You'll have multiple machines making multiple parts, and eventually all these parts get assembled into a mold.
In the past, a big part of this business was focused on the nearby auto industries in both Michigan in the US and Ontario in Canada. But against a backdrop of tariffs and retaliatory tariffs, especially on steel and aluminum, that work decreased significantly.
The tariffs have definitely made a difference. So what it's really doing is the net effect is it driving the costs up in the United States, because the Canadians do not pay the tariffs, the Americans do.
Louis Yarn hopes that the two countries, along with Mexico, can resolve their differences and put a spotlight back on North American manufacturing. But he says any plan needs to include all 3 countries, and it will take time and investment.
A lot of the manufacturing and tooling companies in the United States and Canada, they're gone now. They've disappeared, the skill sets have disappeared. What we really need to do is concentrate on doing real steps, making real movements to bring manufacturing back to North America in a real way. And what you have to be realistic about, it's not going to come back overnight. It's going to take 5, 10, 20 years.
The bruising trade war between the US and Canada is expected to cause economic stress on both sides of the border. But businesses, indeed entire industries, fear more economic stress could soon follow, with the potential risk of further escalation. It comes as US President Donald Trump has threatened to double tariffs on Canadian automobiles and auto parts to 50% at the start of next year. That, Jan says, would have huge ramifications on the North American auto industry.
Any tariff above zero, they don't exist anymore. Right now, for the last year and a half, 2 years, they've been absorbing a lot of these tariffs. Well, they can't do that indefinitely because they'll be out of business. They're not going to introduce a full line of new vehicles if they don't know the net cost or if they think the net costs put them out of business.
Since the tariff war began, businesses like this one continue to pivot amid growing uncertainty. But long-term, the hope for many here is that both countries can find a way forward together. Dan Williams, CGTN, Windsor, Canada.
And finally, we take a look at a video game that started in a Barcelona classroom but now has reached commercial release. Well, the city is expanding indie ecosystem from incubators to government backing made this possible. Barcelona is fast emerging as a key European hub for gaming talent and innovation. Here's more from Edis Tiansen.
A video game where vacuum cleaners battle their way through colorful rooms began not in a professional studio but in a university classroom. Carlos Martinez has since turned that student project into Dust Games' first commercial release.
Dust Games started as a university team in Tecnocampus Mataró, that it's Pompeu Fabra University. And we started together on one subject that we made a project in 3 months. And that project was Room Battle, that it's our first game that was launched this year.
Making it commercially viable required more than programming. For lead artist Oscar Villalobos Marin, Barcelona itself became part of the team's creative education.
I
think Barcelona's ecosystem as a whole helps a lot because it's a city that is, I think, very artistic in itself. And you also have many different artists who come from all over the world.
Over the past decade, Barcelona has emerged as one of Europe's leading video game hubs. In 2024, the city council pledged up to $2.3 million a year to strengthen the wider audiovisual sector, including gaming, by supporting talent, innovation, and international expansion. The goal is to build on the city's concentration of studios and reinforce Barcelona's position on the global gaming map. One place turning that creative potential into working studios is Game BCN, where small teams can find the resources they need to compete internationally.
We are an incubator and accelerator. We connect with other actors like fairs, like academy, the government, and big companies. And these big companies also mentor our indie teams. We also have a very big network of publishers, investors, and this is how we create this ecosystem here with the help of the government.
For developers like Dust Games, that ecosystem can help turn a university assignment into a commercial release and give homegrown studios a path to players around the world. It is Tianshan, CGTN, Barcelona.
And that wraps up this edition of Global Business on CGTN. I'm Lily in Beijing. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.